Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good evening. Good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there, enjoying your day. For those of y'all who are wrapping up your day, I hope it's been an amazing one, a prosperous one, and all that. Your boy's been busy all day today. Wanted to get to you guys. I didn't get a chance. I did not have any time this morning and today to get in front of this in this purple-ash room to talk to you guys about all this stuff that's been going on, this information that dropped late last night, which is still something that it still blows my mind. I'm going to be really honest. It still blows my mind because I'm still wondering where they getting this info, man. Who are these sources? That's what I'd like to know. Okay? That's what I'd really, really like to know. That's the burning question right now as we speak. And of course, I wanted to get on this and talk about this, but I saw there were some other channels that are covering, they're doing their shows. I know that you guys watch those other shows too. So I'm like, man, I'll wait out. I'm gonna wait. You know what I'm saying? I'll wait till they're done, and none of these shows are done. So I'm just like, I gotta get going because I got other things to do and I got other stories to tell y'all today. So I figured, let me do this as a live. Let's just do it. You know what I'm saying? Let's just get it going, you know? So hopefully you guys are all doing well. And if I pulled you from somewhere else, hey, lo siento, okay? That was not my intention at all whatsoever, okay? But, so we got some things we got to get into. We got to get into this thing. It's a short one. It's not going to be a long show today, or at least on this topic, because there's some other stories. There's other topics that I want to talk about. I put out some. I'm going to say that in a second. Okay. Okay. Let me just say what I need to say. Okay. So do me a favor, guys. Before we jump into everything, please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Send it past 300 likes as you guys start to file in. That would really, really mean a lot. There was some information that was dropped late last night. Well, last night. I didn't see it until late last night. It was a shocking piece of information that could explain some things and may not explain anything at all. We're going to discuss those things. So hit that like button down below. Send those likes all the way up. That would really, really mean a lot. Send it past 300. Okay? Let's get the show started off in a positive way. Okay? And do not forget to hit and crush that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you a part of the Pascal Show family. It'd be appreciated. Okay? So thank you for hitting that subscribe button. We cozy in the 90s now. We're about to round into the 91s, which is going to be amazing. So I'm very excited to have the new followers, the new subscribers, and the new members of the family. So welcome to the family, guys, for those of y'all who just joined in. All right. Especially, I appreciate you guys all watching the show and being a part of the conversation last night with the Tyree Nichols case and all that, because that is a very sticky, extremely sticky case that is just absolutely mind-blowing, okay? But, of course, there are a lot of other stories that are percolating out here in these streets. There is one that I wanted to talk to you guys about here and get your opinion on. But before I get into that, I did put up 2 polls on the community page, asking you guys to see if you wanted me to cover these 2 separate stories. And if they do well, if they poll well, then I will discuss those topics. I will talk about those cases. One is of the Lindsay Clancy case, which is the mother of 3 that ended up taking the lives of all 3 of her children before she tried to do something to herself, of course. She is now facing charges for taking the lives of her 3 children and all that. But they are trying, or from my understanding, I haven't dove all the way, haven't done a deep dive in this case yet, but there is talks of postpartum depression playing a huge role in why she did what she did. It's absolutely mind blowing. So there's that poll. Okay. Then there's, of course, the Nicola Bully case, young woman out in the UK that just went missing, and they have not found her at all. Again, I only have scratched the surface on that particular case because I've seen so many other content creators talking about that. So I've just kind of stepped back and let them do their thing. And I've been on that Tyree Nichols case like crazy. That's the reason why I haven't really looked across the pond, for lack of a better term, about that missing persons case. But I have those two up right now. Okay. And then the other thing is, really quick, before we get into this next thing, before we get into our subject matter, okay, there is another story that I've been checking out recently, and still I haven't seen nothing about it. I see it all over the TikToks, but I ain't seen no articles about it. News hasn't covered it or anything. And it's another story, kind of like the Tyree Nichols case, but it revolves around Michael Corey Jenkins. All right. Another man that was handcuffed, basically tortured by a bunch of cops in Rankin County, Mississippi. I am still looking that up and trying to find out what the hell happened here, because there's nothing that talks about it. There's nothing out here. I just see a bunch of TikTokers talking about it, but I see no periodicals, not one article that actually talks about this particular thing. So I'm just saying that out loud to let you guys know that my eyes, ears are looking, scouring the globe to talk about everything I can on this channel. I am trying my best to make sure that no stone is unturned, but I was definitely knew about Michael Corey Jenkins before, but I've been looking and I haven't seen nothing about this. And I don't know if this could be a straight up setup, like this is some fake thing, or if this is the real deal, Holyfield. So I'm stepping back on that particular case just so you guys know, because I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if it's real. I'm looking things up and I'm not seeing nothing about this young man. And if it is true, then my mind is blown. But I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's real. It may be a one big ass scam, which is disgusting to say the least. So if it does turn out to be a scam, we're going to talk about that too, because that's disgusting. And something like that should never be. People should not be playing with people's emotions like that for their own financial gain, if and only if it is a scam. I'm just going to say that really quick. Okay. So I'm just letting you know all the things that are going on in my mind, of the things that I've been looking at. Okay. Because of course I want to bring awareness to a lot of other stories. So there are some that I'm going to be starting to do throughout this week. Most definitely. Looks like I'm going to be, delving into the Nicola Bully case as well, starting from ground zero and going from where we are up to date. So it's going to be a big one. So just get ready, because it's going to be a crazy week and a lot of coverage going on here very, very soon. So I appreciate you guys being here, being a part of the conversation. Okay. And being a part of the conversation, it does really mean a lot. Valerie Miller even said, I didn't find it, Pascal. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't find it. I think I saw Nicole B say something along the lines of, it could be a scam. I saw it in the corner of my eye. And that's the thing. I don't know about this Michael Corey Jenkins situation, but there is another one that I am covering, or am going to be doing a pop-up video on. It may not get a whole lot of looksy-loos because of it being a little bit more of a localized situation, but it has gone viral online. We're going to talk about that another time. And I most likely will have the guest on the show to talk about this particular thing that's going on. That's pretty wild, where this woman is basically badgering a Latino family, threatening them and all that. It's pretty crazy. So, like I said, I'm just giving you guys a heads up on the things that I'm looking at. Because I know we've been on this Bryan Kohberger and this Tyree Nichols thing for a hot minute. I am searching for other things to talk to you guys about, of course, because you guys deserve some more variety into the show, obviously. And there's other stories that deserve more light in the sun as well. Okay, so just so you guys know. Anyway, we got to jump into this. Sorry for that long little thing, but I wanted to let you guys know what I am doing so that you guys are ready. Okay, so we got to talk about Bryan Kohberger again. Oh my God, I keep thinking that we're done, and then more stuff comes out, right? Now, there is something that's very interesting that's recently happened on Ashley Banfield's show. All right, we just a couple days ago, we talked about this at great lengths, something completely different that was dropped on Ashley Banfield's show. Very graphic details about what happened, mainly on what happened to Ethan and Xana. Obviously, the internet and the YouTube streets went absolutely nuts. Okay. Now, Ashley Banfield drops some more information, which is absolutely interesting as well. Okay. We are going to look at the the video clip in a little bit, but I wanted to give you guys at least the bare bones of through this article here. And it says right here, Idaho student monster suspect, okay? Bryan Kohberger was fired from his teaching assistant job just days before his arrest after professor called him out for behavioral problems and having a sexist attitude towards women. Now, we already know, we've heard stories about how he was at bars, how he would be approaching women and just being a straight up jerk off. I'm going to say it, just being a jerk. Now, we're actually hearing that he was like this to the students that he was grading, like the papers that he was grading. Of course, getting ahead of myself. Let's get into this article, shall we? So Bryan Kohberger was fired from his TA job due to behavioral problems just days before his arrest for allegedly unaliving 4 University of Idaho students. Kohberger, we already know, is 28, but he was facing disciplinary actions at his Washington State University job before he was ultimately let go. I'm thinking let go on December 19th. Gotta love those typos. Roughly 1 month after he allegedly unalived 4 students. Now, remember, he's still innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. He hasn't come out and said, I did it, I did this thing. Nothing. So he's still allegedly the person who did these unthinkable things. All right. 11 days later, he was arrested in Pennsylvania, which we already know, at his ma and pa's crib. All right. He started the position in August and was under investigation within a month due to behavioral problems and having a sexist attitude towards women, NewsNation said, according to Ashley Banfield, who, by the way, is saying that she received this information from 3 separate sources, 3 of them. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that I don't believe her. Obviously, she wouldn't put this information out if it was all cap, right? She wouldn't put all this information out here if it was a lie, right? She already makes monies. She works for NewsNation, right? She already securing them bags, right? So, just very interesting, nonetheless, this information. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't believe her or don't believe the sources that she received. But the information that we received about the placing of where Ethan was and what happened to Xana and her fingers and how she fought back and all that, it's very detailed, gruesome information to receive. Now we're getting even more information saying how Bryan was in the classrooms. Remember, they said that he was extremely brilliant and he loved to show how smart he was, but he kept to himself, so on and so forth. That's all we have heard so far. We have other people who have said, "Oh, I went on a date with him through Tinder, and he was talking about damn birthing hips." That's it. But they really haven't gone into who he was as a TA, a teaching assistant at Washington State University. We haven't really heard any other students speak out about this. So this is very shocking information in my personal opinion. But let's continue with this article, shall we? Yeah, Jersey Devil, them birthing hips. Birthing hips. Okay, so let's get into this. Okay, pretty wild stuff. But the alleged monster was reportedly issued several warnings about his behavior and was brought into a meeting with a group of professors to discuss it. Like they had a straight up intervention. Like we were watching a show on TLC. They had an intervention on this mother lover. Crazy. So they went in to have this discussion with a group of professors to discuss it, with his attitude towards women being a key talking point. Fascinating. Professors reportedly said he was rude to women and that he graded them differently than the male students. He also reportedly had a sexist attitude toward females he interacted with at school. Is it still the birth and hip stuff? It just makes you wonder, what was going on? How was he reacting? What was his approach that would come off? I mean, obviously we already know some things like, we already know a couple things like, I like your book bag, wanna bang. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure, but it just makes you wonder, like, what was he doing that was, I just want to know. We already know the basis of like what being sexist towards somebody is, obviously, right? But I'm wondering what his approach was. You know what I'm saying? Just weird. Birthing hips. You know? I just want to know what his approach was. What his swagger was. I mean, he doesn't have swagger. but you get what I'm saying, okay? You get what I'm saying, okay? He clearly has no swag. There is no swagger with him. But I'm wondering what he thinks is swag. You know what I mean? Inquiring minds would like to know. Okay? Book bag banger. OMG. Yep, book bag banger. Nice book bag, wanna bang? I don't know. It just makes you wonder. But of course, we already know that he's being accused of taking the lives of Xana, Kaylee, Maddie, and Ethan. Okay. Let me say that again. I feel like I messed that up. Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. I thought I missed somebody's name there. But even so, maybe even this, when he's looking at her, he's looking at Ann Taylor, his attorney right here, and maybe he's thinking like, maybe I can get in her pants too. I don't know. Does she have birthing hips? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of creepazoid. It's giving me creepy vibes, babies. Creepy vibes. Okay? So let's continue. Also, during his time as a teaching assistant, Kohberger reportedly had multiple altercations with Professor Snyder, John Snyder. He had an argument with Snyder on the 23rd of September. 10 days later, Snyder pulled Kohberger into a meeting to discuss his professional behavior. So Kohberger reportedly became more feisty and belligerent after the meeting and got into arguments with professors. Weeks later, Snyder sent the alleged monster an email citing that the teaching assistant had failed to meet, quote unquote, meet expectations, according to NewsNation. On November 2nd, Kohberger and the professor met to discuss an improvement plan. Wild, right? We're going to go through this whole thing real quick. More than a month later, and after the tragedy had already occurred, Kohberger met with the group of professors to discuss his progress with the improvement plan. 2 days following the meeting, Snyder told the criminology graduate student that he, quote unquote, had made no progress regarding professionalism. So they tried to sit down and give him many, many chances. And guess what? He failed every single freaking time. He had made no progress regarding his professionalism. On December 19th, Kohberger was officially released from his teaching duties, and he was arrested in Pennsylvania on December 30th. Kohberger was a teaching assistant while he was enrolled in as a graduate degree, or in his graduate degree for criminology at the Washington State University. As part of his program, of his graduate program, he might have had access to body cam footage from 5 police departments, as well as a live feed to security footage from the campus. Oh, see, now this makes something very, makes you wonder questions. This makes you have questions. This is making me wonder, and it's making me have questions. You see how I smashed that whole sentence into those 2 thoughts into one sentence just a second ago? Which we're going to go back to this part here, which I think is very interesting. A WSU spokesperson insisted to Fox News in January that Kohberger never had access to any footage from the CSI lab, but an insider told the outlet that individuals on campus may have had access to the database without authorization. The CSI lab does not include footage from the police department in nearby Moscow, Idaho. Okay. The source quoted by Fox News, who works for the university, speculated that Kohberger could have used the CSI lab to view unredacted images of crime scenes and other disturbing footage. However, the vice president of marketing and communications told the outlet that Kohberger never obtained entry to the programs that maintained the footage. To be clear, BK had never had access to any footage from the complex social interaction lab in Washington State University, he said. Access to the facility is strictly controlled. All research assistants must complete a background check, and FBI Criminal Justice Information Services Level 2 certification be fingerprinted by the FBI and sign a confidentiality agreement in order to enter the facility, said Wheeler. But the insider claimed that multiple individuals who have not gone through the vetting or training had access to the facility as part of their duties, including technical support staff. In addition, following the gruesome unalivings, 2 district attorney offices began looking into cold case files to see if there was any potential linking to Kohberger. Your natural question is to start wondering, is this guy wanted? This is apparently from a DA that told King 5. Is his name out there? Did he do anything here in my county? So the Lehigh County DA, Martin, felt the same way, considering BK had spent 4 years studying criminology for his undergraduate degree in his county, despite Kohberger not having a criminal record prior to the Idaho allegations. The first thing I did was ask the director of the Regional Intelligence and Investigation Center to see if we had any contact with Mr. Kohberger. He told King 5. There was only one connection at the suspected quadruple unaliving among the 6 million police reports in the system, And it was simply a 911 call about being locked out of his car near a bike trail. And there was a response for him thanking the police and apologizing for the inconvenience. So that's all they have. This particular county did not find any other connection to BK, and Northampton did not have any incidents from the 28-year-old student. In fact, nothing with respect to BK has come about in our investigations of cold cases or unsolved cases to this point, but we always continue to investigate and pursue leads. Now, what's interesting, and of course, as for the Lehigh County, there's no unsolved homicides that in any way meet the modus operandi of this event out in Idaho. What's interesting about this, though, okay, because I'm going to go all the way back up. Of course, they're going to look and see if there's any connections, if there's anything else deeper going on. They're going to deep dive and see what the deal is. Of course, okay? Of course, they're going to do what they need to do to see if, oh, wait. He has a history of doing this, or he's alleged to have done this, and it's a big crime. It's a big tragedy. Is this the only one he's ever done? Okay. Like, is this the only one he's ever done? Really? This is his first one? If it is him, again, we have to say allegedly. If he allegedly did this, this is his first and only rodeo? I don't know. Strange though, right? Does make you wonder. Now, one thing that did pop up that you saw me react to live was this piece of information here. As part of his graduate program, he might have had access to body cam footage from 5 police departments. Now, they're saying that the 5 departments do not include Moscow, Idaho PD. Okay, they don't that Moscow PD, right? There's no access to those things, but what if there's other things that he has access to? They're saying that there's a huge background check. You got to jump through all these different loopholes or jump through all these different hoops. I meant to be able to garner access into this particular CSI lab. But at the same time, let's keep it real. There's other people saying that it wasn't really that hard to get in there. Any person that had certain certain skills or certain titles could get in there. One of them that I thought was very interesting was this part. Where did it go? Technical support staff. Technical support staff. I'll just bullet that up. You see it in the gray. Okay? Or now in the blue. Technical support staff. It does make you wonder, could he be some big tech savvy mother lover where he's able to do certain things, and maybe he was able to get into those things because he has certain skills, right? Technically speaking. The other thing is, I also heard this too, which is very interesting. I heard this through Twitter. Something about his computer that they have access to right now. That maybe there's some sort of firewall or something that's stopping them from being able to do a complete, thorough, deep dive into his computer. And maybe by getting access, they might be able to get into more information, right? We might be able to get into more of what's going on here. But that's all that's all hearsay. You know, this is all stuff that I'm hearing through the grapevine and through these internet streets that I just saw throughout the day. Now, I don't know if any of that is 110% true, but it's interesting nonetheless, right? Now, another piece that I wanted to show you guys was something from Jennifer Coffindaffer, because I thought she said something very interesting here too. And it is kind of what sparked my question, my title, or, my thumbnail. Okay. So let's take a look at this. This is from Jennifer Coffindaffer, former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. She tends to hop in every once in a while onto the show. Okay. But she said this, a lot floating around about the Idaho case, the FBI losing BK, the probable cause affidavit only meant to establish probable cause, having expected holes. Obviously, now there's Bryan Kohberger's mail. People are, of course, talking about how he's receiving love letters and he's getting threatening letters now too, which I kind of, let me just say that before, as we're on this right here. Duh. I expected both. I expected seeing him get a whole lot of hate and some love. What else is new? There's always going to be somebody who sits there and goes, oh, that's my soulmate, and I need to speak to him. Goodbye, my love. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of like that. Okay, my love, he's for me. He's my soulmate. I feel him in my heart. Okay. Okay. No disrespect, but oh my God. Come on, y'all. Like that clearly is something, there's some mental health issue going on. Okay. For sure. Nope. Sorry. I can't think that anyone who can literally look at this and see this person who's alleged of doing some unthinkable thing, who's saying birth and hips, and they're going, oh my God, my soul, my heart, oh my God. Sorry. No. Sorry, but no. No. I just want to like grab that girl's hand and just, no! You know what I mean? Just don't do it. Okay? All right? No. It's not right. But let's continue. So we already knew that he was going to get a lot of hate and a whole lot of love, or a whole lot of hate and some love, because from my understanding, it's only one lady. Okay. But this happened with Bundy. This happened with a bunch of other people as well. Okay. That were just all of a sudden just made to be sex icons for some weird reason. It's very strange. It's very strange. Okay. And it's wrong. Okay. No. I'll say it again. No. All right. Those people really do need to talk to somebody, period. If you're sitting there trying to seek love with a man who allegedly savagely took 4 people's lives, please go talk to somebody, like right now. All right. Because that man ain't for you. That man ain't for you. So let's continue here. All right. Yes. Period. Yes. Period. Yes. They literally, like Dahmer, like all of them. Suddenly they were like sexualized. I'm like, what? How is that even looked at as sexy? Okay, that's disgusting. Okay, but let's continue on with this tweet. Okay, here it is. So of course the mail, which is ridiculous. All right, then on top of that, focused on evidence that could be used at trial. Okay, if true, below could explain why BK struck when he did. Now, we are going to take a look at this video. So let's do that first. And then I got to put in my 2 cents. And of course, I got to jump in and out of this bad boy because it is what it is. These are the breaks. Okay. But before we continue, let me pull this up.
I think it's important.
And Ashley Banfield out here just putting it all out there, y'all. Putting all the info out, man. But let's take a look at this. Don't forget to hit that like button while you're at it. Okay, hit that subscribe button. That would really, really mean a lot. All right, let's get those likes up to like 500 likes. A like don't cost a thing. Helps the story. Helps it get out there. That would really, really mean a lot. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button. All right, if you haven't done so yet. All right, we got a lot of other stories to be covering here very, very soon. So if you like what I'm doing here and you want to hear some other stories from me, please hit that subscribe button. All right, let's rock and roll.
I think it's important because In the Idaho murder case, there's been a lot of focus on the chief defendant in the case, Bryan Kohberger. And now we are learning a few things were happening in that man's life leading up to and right after the murders. Things like being investigated by his own school, Washington State University, where he was working as a teaching assistant. And apparently the investigation wasn't going well. He was warned time after time after time to cut back on the bad behavior. We're told behavioral problems specifically. But time after time after time, he didn't. He got more feisty and belligerent, even arguing with his professors, until they finally decided, you're fired.
Now, when they say, and of course, we got to cut in and out of here, okay, guys? So just deal with it if you got a problem, okay? But let me just say this really quick, all right? When they say behavioral problems, especially towards women, let me just say this. Could it be a situation where he was feeling some type of way? Like he was feeling good about his power. He had a position of power. He was grading papers. He could sit there and give them an F if he wants to, or give them an A if he wants to, right? So maybe this was the behavioral problem. I mean, obviously his approach towards women, his attitude towards women was obviously playing a huge part in this situation, okay? But maybe he saw this as a power trip to literally dangle these grades right over these young women's heads, right? Utilizing his power to maybe say, hey, we should go on a date. Maybe he was doing that kind of crazy stuff. You don't think other TAs and other teachers, other professors at universities haven't used that kind of approach before? Come on, y'all. All right? We ain't dumb. We all heard these stories before, baby. Okay? So what if he was doing that to try to utilize these opportunities to, you know what I'm saying? Let me get to the yams. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Maybe he was using that opportunity and he was getting super creepy about it. His arrogance was absolutely taking over. The power trip, knowing that he was the gatekeeper for them passing or failing this class. And the dudes, he didn't care, as long as he was cool with them. Yeah, you got a B. You happy? But with the girls, maybe he was like, I will give you a B if you go on a date with me, type thing. Or why don't we meet up and have a conversation real quick about your grades and lack thereof, your work, and maybe you can let me get to the yams. You never know. Think about it. It's gross. Yes, Shay. Ew, 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 barf. Ew. Yeah. It's gross. It's gross. But he clearly was using that as an opportunity to see if he can give that D. Okay? Clearly. All right? But let's continue. He obviously was using this. This is a power trip. This is already somebody who loves to let everybody know how brilliant he is. Okay? He's a scholar. He's a brilliant man. Do you know how amazing I am? All right? And God knows what else he was saying. He was probably like, oh, yeah, birthing hips. We should bang. Whatever. I'll give you an A if you, meet with me at this bar. So on and so forth. The behavioral issues say so much. It could be that bad, or it could just be him just being a dick. All right? It could be him really just being a real jerk to women in general and just talking down at them the entire time. It may not only just be him trying to get in them sheets. I'm sorry. Okay? But he could have been utilizing this opportunity to dog on women in a negative way, meaning not in a negative way. Obviously, dogging women is negative, but I'm saying like to talk them down, right? Knock them down a few pegs because he now has this power, right? With his nose in the air. It's disturbing, but it definitely shows some vibes that would make sense of why he could have done what he ended up doing. But I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Let's continue here. But yeah, he was trying to get to the yams, like literally. That's what I think. And he just failed miserably. These girls were like, oh, nah. And then they went and told the professor. But let me say this though too. If it was that extreme, okay? If he was like, sup, birthing hips, and these girls are like, nah. Just think about it. And they went to the professor and they just had little powwows, little interventions to sit here and say, hey, how you are treating these women are not right. How you're trying to get them to go on dates with you or whatever. Let's just say it was that extreme. Why did he still have the job then? Why did they keep giving him many, many chances? If he was already being a jerk and he was really, really bad and his behavioral issues were an issue, why did he still have the job for that long? He should have been fired long ass time ago, guys. Let's keep it real. There should have been zero tolerance on his behavior towards anyone. Then on top of it, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll let her continue. We already read it in the article, right? I'll let her say it and we're going to continue. All right? Let's rock and roll.
That's right. Bryan Kohberger was fired as a teaching assistant from Washington State University. I have the actual specifics of this, and I wanted to sort of go through what we have come to learn was the sort of timeline of his warnings and all of the things that were listed on a termination letter that Kohberger himself was given right before they cut the cord with him. So I'm going to just watch some of these so I don't get them wrong. But the highlights, or lowlights, I guess you might call them, was that he had a sexist attitude towards females that he interacted with at the school, that he was rude to the women, and then get this, as a teaching assistant, he apparently graded the women differently than he graded the men. Here is the alleged language that was included in his termination letter along with the timeline, starting on September 23rd. And by our math, that's about 1 month into his brand new job as a teaching assistant in his doctoral program, which may or may not have been tied to his teaching job. September 23rd, Kohberger apparently has an altercation with one of the professors named Dr. Snyder. Just 10 days later, on October 3rd, the letter outlines that they had met to, quote, discuss the norms of professional behavior. And then 18 days after that, on October the 21st, Dr. Snyder emails Bryan Kohberger to say that he has, quote, failed to meet the expectations that were outlined in the discussions they'd had before. 12 days after that, on November the 2nd, they met again to discuss what they called an improvement plan. And then on December the 7th, that's about, well, let's cut to actually 12 days later, 11 days later, the murders actually happened. So they have the meeting to discuss the improvement plan. And 11 days later, on November 13th, the murders are carried out. Then cut forward to 24 days beyond, and that's December 7th. That's when there was another meeting with the professors. And this was supposed to be about the progress of the, quote, improvement plan. Apparently, it didn't go too well because 2 days later, on December 9th, he had another altercation with Dr. Snyder. And here's the quote, in which it became apparent that you had not made progress regarding professionalism. 10 days after that, December 19th, Bryan Kohberger is officially terminated by Washington State University. And some are reporting that he was withdrawn from the data system 3 days later on December the 22nd.
So real quick, I want to go back to this list here because I want you guys to see something here. And I'm gonna get into your super chats here in a second, okay? And I appreciate everybody for being here and for the support. I really do. It really does mean a lot, all right? So don't forget to hit that like button down below, all right? Let's get it past 500 likes, all right? But let's look at this timeline real quick, okay? First off, let's look at the first one. You know, school started at like what? When did school start? I don't even know when school started for Washington State University, but school usually starts like September time, right? Allegedly, okay? Allegedly around September time, right? Late August, early September, that type of thing. This mother lover didn't even have this job long, and he already was having issues with the professor. Okay, fine. He had an altercation with the professor. The question still remains, the question that I still got is what kind of altercation was going on? Can you go into more detail about this particular altercation? Was it him not agreeing with the professor right in front of all the other students, right? During a class? He's like, well, actually, you know, doing the pushing up his imaginary, glasses, sitting there going, actually, buddy, professor, you have it wrong, Snyder. He could have done that, right? And then the professor's like, I don't like how he is trying to teach my class, right? I'm not cool with that. Sure. I can see having some sort of a warning, right? First time. Like, bet not do that again, buddy, right? But then, what is that, 2 weeks later? Maybe a week and a half later, something like that? He gets into a meeting with other professionals, with other professors, because they said that they were having a problem with his professional behavior. So they sat him down and they said, professionally, you're behaving terribly. And we need for this to stop. It's okay. So then, 2 or so weeks later, he receives an email from the powers that be to tell him that he is failing to meet expectations. In other words, nothing has changed. You haven't done anything right here. You are still screwing this up. Like, why is this happening right now? Think about this for a second. Why is this happening? Right there, like right at the October 21st, in my personal opinion, he should have gotten snipped. Shoot, after October 3rd. There should be zero tolerance. God forbid, whatever this professional behavior is, right? Now, if this is the part where he was being sexist, I have to replay that part, but from what Ashley Banfield says, because it does make you wonder if he was already being sexist and already being a jerk, grading the women, like giving the women a difficult time, but the men not so much of a hard time. That is a problem that should have been remedied way, way ahead of time. He should have been let go after the first few weeks. It shouldn't have been this long whole semester. This is a whole freaking semester, y'all. Unless they were worried, they're like, we're just going to write it out. Unless they were very, very worried about how he was going to react for the rest of the semester. So they said, let's just write it out to the end of the semester. As soon as the semester is over, we at least have a paper trail that shows that he has not progressed. He has been unprofessional. He is being sexist. We have all these problems. We have all this stuff. So we can literally use this just in case if he tries to do something, right? He tries to bring this to the board. They try to say that he's being discriminated against because of God knows whatever it may be, right? Maybe they said, we're just going to ride it out because we don't know how he's going to react. Also, we'll have the paperwork. We'll have a paper trail, and it'll be the end of the semester. So he'll have plenty of time to calm down, right? And cool off when he's not on this campus. Because I'm sure he's going to go home or go to his apartment and be away, right? Maybe that's what the reason why they stopped. But at the same time, if he was already being a huge problem, there should have been zero tolerance for his behavior, just in my personal opinion, right? We're going to play that back because I want to make sure that I get everything right, okay, in this as well. But I do have some super chats here really, really quick, all right? So, Shauna Williams, thank you so much for the 5. Yes, keep covering the Memphis case. I'm in Nashville. You're the only creator I sub to that's covering it. Yes, I'm on the mom. Yes, I'm on the mom. I'm not familiar. Oh, yes. Yes, you're on the mom, but you're not familiar. Love you, Pascal. Thank you so much, Shauna. I love you too. Thank you so much, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for the 2. OMG, he saw and watched them. Wow, this makes sense now. Yeah. Hold on. So many stories, and so many things to talk about, y'all. So many to talk about. Nisa, Marie, thank you so much for the 5. Thank you for the laughs, Pascal. I've had a stressful day. Thank you for covering this story as well. Anytime, okay? Obviously with this stuff, this is a little bit lighter. It's not about the students that lost their lives. So it's easier to be, have a little bit of fun to poke fun at this dude. But it is still frustrating to think that this here is a timeline of warnings that he received. And not once did they fire his ass. And they should have. And then the other thing, too, in between the 2nd of November and December 7th is when they had November 2nd, they had an improvement plan. They sat down to discuss an improvement plan because they were trying to give him a chance, right? Let's give him a chance. He's a smart guy, blah, blah, blah. Maybe he's just socially awkward. Let's give him a chance, right? Maybe it's anxiety, maybe whatever it is. Maybe he just doesn't know how to talk to females. Whatever it is, we're just going to figure it out and we're going to work on an improvement plan to see if he can do things, right? So they had that. Then within the 2nd of November to the 7th of December, these young lives were taken. Then they had another meeting, basically almost 3 weeks, damn near almost a month after the unalivings, after this tragedy, to have another meeting with him to talk about his improvement progress, which obviously there wasn't any progress going on, right? Because he was still being erratic. They said apparently he was getting worse. He was getting even more erratic. Maybe because he was feeling himself too much, right? Maybe he felt he was like the cat that got the cream, couldn't stop licking himself, right? Just feeling good about all this stuff, right? Now hold on, I want to make sure I got all the super chats. Did I? I feel like this thing just hopped up on me. Sorry, guys. Just want to make sure. Yep, I did. I got them all. But if you really think about it, maybe after he did this thing, and he feels he did it successfully, he just felt like he was untouchable. The arrogance was coursing through his veins so hardcore that around December 7th or so, he didn't give a damn. Or we did hear stories about how he was drinking a lot more coffee. He looked tired, haggard, worn out. What if he's just started not giving a damn? Maybe I'm just playing this is all speculation here. But what if? What if he just started sitting there going, now I want to do another one? What if? Maybe he felt like it wasn't enough. Or maybe he was stressed because he was scared of getting the constant fear of getting caught. The possibilities with this are endless. But still, they're saying that he was getting erratic. He was getting worse. He had a second altercation with the professor on the 9th of December. Maybe his ego just came into play even more, got revved up even more. He's feeling cocky. He's feeling like he's on top of the world. And then after that second altercation, they're like, we need to get rid of this guy. As soon as he's done grading these final papers and all this stuff, once he's done, we're getting rid of him. And then, of course, they sent the email saying, we are done with you. Bye-bye. Right? But I'm going to run that back because she does say a bunch in this timeline. And I think it's important to see it and listen to it one more time. So we just get it right. All right? Let's go.
Women. And then get this, as a teaching assistant, he apparently graded the women differently than he graded the men. Here is the alleged language that was included in his termination letter along with the timeline starting on September 23rd. And by our math, that's about 1 month into his brand new job as a teaching assistant in his doctoral program, which may or may not have been tied to his teaching job. September 23rd, Kohberger apparently has an altercation with one of the professors named Dr. Snyder. Just 10 days later, on October 3rd, the letter outlines that they had met to, quote, discuss the norms of professional behavior. And then 18 days after that, on October the 21st, Dr. Snyder emails Bryan Kohberger to say that he has, quote, failed to meet the expectations that were outlined in the discussions they'd had before. 12 days after that, on November the 2nd, they met again to discuss what they called an improvement plan. And then on December the 7th, that's about, well, let's cut to actually 12 days later, 11 days later, the murders actually happen. So they have the meeting to discuss the improvement plan. And 11 days later, on November 13th, the murders are carried out. Then cut forward to 24 days beyond, and that's December 7th. That's when there was another meeting with the professors. And this was supposed to be about the progress of the, quote, improvement plan. Apparently, it didn't go too well because 2 days later, on December 9th, he had another altercation with Dr. Snyder. And here's the quote, in which it became apparent that you had not made progress regarding professionalism. 10 days after that, December 19th, Bryan Kohberger is officially terminated by Washington State University. And some are reporting that he was withdrawn from the data system 3 days later on December the 22nd.
So as you can see, when they break it down like this, it shows to me, especially with this timeline that we see here, it shows to me that things weren't going very well for him in this new gig. Okay, he clearly was getting, working. There was a possibility of, I don't know, maybe he just saw this as an opportunity to utilize this newfound power and was utilizing it in a very, very bad way. Maybe he has seen way too many scenes on P-Hub. I don't know. But he thought that maybe he could play out this in whatever way he wanted it to be played out. But he treated other people with he treated these women specifically like trash. And he was also treating the professor like trash as well. They gave him many opportunities. But maybe he knew things were starting to crash and burn near the end. And what if this is the thing that set him off? That just took him over the edge? What are the chances of that? That this pushed him over the edge? The thing that got him to do what he did now. I mean, this is exactly what Jennifer Coffindaffer said too. And I thought the same thing. And I was like, yo, this is a very good point. You know, focus on the evidence that could be used in this trial. If true, below could explain why BK struck when he did. And I mean, think about it. Maybe he realized there was really he had nothing left. There was nothing left here. He was already applying. Let's not forget, too, I just remembered this. He was also applying to get internships over at police departments, at the Pullman Police Department. He also was applying for jobs there, too, for an internship there, too. Obviously, it didn't go through because he never got the job. But then things were starting to fall apart. Maybe he just said, this is the time to just do this thing that I really want to do. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe, quite possibly, I don't know. But it is just a strange timeline of him, especially his animosity and his aggression towards women was already being seen months before this tragedy took place. She even said, Ashley Banfield even said during this particular timeline, which I'll show you guys here again, during this particular timeline, September 23rd, he was already at least a month into the gig, into this TA job. So a month into it, he started having issues with the professor. So he was already on the professor's ish list instantly. But then on top of it, he was being a real bad boy to other people too. And utilizing this power in a very messed up and jacked up way. So it does still make you wonder, did all this frustration from this job and all that, the fact that he could be losing this job, maybe feeling like he's going to be a failure, something like that, push him over the edge to what he ended up allegedly doing on November 13th? Remember, they were trying to they had a meeting on the 2nd of November to discuss his improvement plan, or to discuss an improvement plan, because on the 21st of October, he received an email basically saying that he's not meeting their expectations. He's failing to meet their expectations. They're expecting him to do more, to do better, and not to treat people like trash, to treat men and women equally when it comes to grading papers and when it comes to him being a TA. He heard all that. I'm sure in his mind he's thinking, these guys hate my ass. It's a wrap. Or you never know too. Let's think about the other side. I can do better than this TA job. I can even be better than this professor. F this TA opportunity, F this class, and I'm done with it anyway, right? Let's think about that too. Any other person who might be a perfectionist might sit there and go, oh my God, I don't want to lose this because, I need this because it's part of my, it's part of my graduate program, right? But maybe for him, he's like, I'm better off without them. If we're talking about arrogance, right? And if he believes he's that brilliant, clearly he didn't change. Clearly he wasn't learning from his mistakes. He just let it keep rocking and rolling. But it's pretty wild, guys, this new information. And it still makes me wonder, could this be the thing that pushed him past the limit, pushed him to the point of making some very drastic and very traumatic choices that took the lives, allegedly took the lives of 4 young students from the University of Idaho? Did he do this to try to prove a point? Remember, I talked about this too, y'all. I talked about him saying this whole idea of maybe utilizing this as an opportunity to exact the perfect crime, okay? To do the Annalise Keating, right? To do his own version of how to get away with M, right? And maybe as he's like walking, slowly seeing this job, this TA gig slip from his fingers, maybe he started getting desperate and said, F it, I could do better than this, and I'll prove it. Quite possibly. Okay? Quite possibly. It's not the answer to everything, but it is a possibility. We don't know his psyche. We don't know who he is. We've only heard him a little bit in these during these live clips that we've seen from him in trial. But at the same time, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see what more comes out. Obviously, Ashley Banfield got the plug. She received this from allegedly 3 different sources and all that. Hold on, guys. I got another one I want to pull up.
Thank you for having me on
as well.
I think it's important.
Because yeah, I think it's important
Together.
So let me grab this too for you guys. All right. Pull up one more clip for you guys.
I can tell you that we have 3 different sources where we have put that information together. We reached out to Washington State University. They won't comment on it. It is incredibly quiet and tight-lipped at Washington State University, not just in the administrative side, but also among the students. And that's why I want to bring in our Brian Enton, who's our senior national correspondent at NewsNation. All of this is quite surprising. You know, here we are months after the murders, Brian, and this information is coming out, and it is very, very hard to get official acknowledgement of this from Washington State University.
It is, Ashley, and this is very interesting what you have uncovered, because I'm thinking back to when I was in the building there where you just saw the video where Bryan Kohberger was teaching, was also a student, PhD student, criminal justice there at Washington State University. And the first thing I noticed when I was wandering around all of the hallways on multiple floors is on the bulletin boards, they had all of the teacher assistants, the TAs, and the professors listed in many different places, and his name didn't appear anywhere. I initially thought, okay, they went through after the arrest and they got his name off of everything in this building. But now I'm wondering, with this new information you're reporting, did they take his name down much earlier because he was in fact fired?
Well, it's pretty fascinating because if you think about the dates, December 22nd, if he's withdrawn from the data system in that university, he still hasn't been arrested until December 30th, that Friday night. And we are also told that it was official. His official termination actually happened at the very end of that month. He was told, you're finished. You're not going to be a TA in the spring session. I'm not sure about the winter session, but it, you know, the word has it that it was the 30th, that it was completely over, and that just, you know, that ends up being the same day that he was arrested. What I'm curious about is why the students are so quiet about this. I understand the staff. They work for WSU. They have to toe the line if WSU doesn't want them speaking, but students don't work for the school. They can talk if they want to, and yet they haven't.
They've talked a little bit, Ashley. They don't want to go on camera when we've been on campus in the past, but they have spoken a little from what we've gathered. He was a TA of both Criminal Justice 101 and criminal law. We heard from several students along the way that he gave off weird vibes, that they got a creepy feeling from him. We also heard something that matched up with your new reporting tonight, that he was a hard grader. That at one point, actually, there was such an issue with the way that he was grading papers that a higher level professor had to come in and get involved at one point.
One thing I just realized, okay, first off, the fact that he was really hard at a tough grader and all that. Okay. I've heard many, many stories about that. I remember a story coming out of NYU where a bunch of students just walked out of class because their teacher was way too tough on them as a collective. They all collectively thought that this teacher was grading too hard and his tests were too difficult and all that stuff. So a bunch of students just like walked out of a class, boycotting the class, allegedly, if my memory serves me correct. But I'm sure there's more than just him being, obviously, there's more than just him being a hard grader, right? The other thing I also want to point out too is, let's not forget, guys, when it comes to why other students haven't stepped up and talked at all, you never know. Some of these students might become witnesses in this trial, so maybe they can't come up and talk. We may not know about these students. The NewsNation may not know about these students, but they could be character witnesses, right? To talk about how he was in class, specifically for prosecution, right? So there is a possibility that there's a reason why students haven't stepped forward and said anything, because one, they could be in there, they could be seen in the trial, and two, they could be scared out of their wits right now, y'all. They could be absolutely scared out of their doggone wits, going, man, this guy was working with, man, if I said anything and my face was on TV, he knows exactly who I am. Man, what if he was working with somebody? I don't need them knocking on my door. Okay? I want to live. So a lot of these students are going, I ain't saying nothing. Are you crazy? What? I ain't saying nothing, baby. No. That could be it too. So you never know. So we just got to wait and see what happens when the trial happens, okay? Because these students, unless one brave one does end up stepping forward and saying something, it might be anonymous. It may be on the hush and hush. You know what I mean? But let's continue. But real quick, Pamela Hamilton, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Welcome to the family. Thank you so much for joining the family membership. Yes. Okay. But real talk, these students may be used in trial, or they're just scared out of their minds right now. And I'm wondering if any of these students are going to be coming back to this school, right? Or have gone back to the school after their winter break, right? Scary. It's scary to think that you are working closely with an alleged mass monster here. It's crazy. Let's continue.
Bryan, I remember when that original reporting broke, but I never remember anyone delineating between the grading being tougher on the women than on the men, just that he was very hard on the students. But not only are we hearing that he was grading women differently, but also that he was rude to women and that he, quote, had a sexist attitude towards women among his multiple behavioral problems.
Yeah, that is new. I haven't heard it to that extent. We did hear a little bit about possibly some sexism. We also heard, if you don't remember, Ashley, about there was an issue. He maybe had an issue with like a pride flag on a door in one of the school buildings there. But in terms of it going to the level with your new reporting tonight, to the point where he was actually fired and there were so many issues that he was actually fired as a TA. That's brand new.
Homeboy had a problem with a pride flag now. Hamburger. Oh boy, oh boy. Let's continue.
So, Bryan, I'm just looking over this timeline again, and it's pretty astounding because he only started as a TA at the end of August. But the problem started right away on September 23rd. Look at this timeline. There are just mere sometimes days and short weeks in between each issue. But the very first thing started within a month, a fight with his professor, and then letters saying, you've got to be, up on your professional behavior. You're not meeting the expectations. We need an improvement plan. We got to meet about the improvement plan. And another fight, like 2 fights with the professor, all in the course of a couple of months, all the while hearing, like not in this timeline, but hearing these reports of being sexist and rude to women and being troublesome in the grading department. So what's curious is if Kohberger's program was tied to his teaching job. And not only that, he had an on-campus office and he had an on-campus apartment. And it's possible that those things were tied to his teaching job as well. So is it possible, Bryan, that his whole life was about to collapse because he was being, he was fired, but he knew that was coming, or at least he should have known it might have been coming. And he might have lost his program and his accommodations on campus.
It's a very big possibility. Let's go back and think to the fact that his dad came out to drive with him back to Pennsylvania. A lot of people questioned that. Why would the dad fly all the way over there to drive the car all the way back just for a Christmas break? Why wouldn't he just fly back? Would it even maybe be cheaper? Was there more going on behind the scenes now that we know all of this?
Thank you.
That is very interesting if you think about it, right? Maybe they were driving the car back because maybe he was going to leave maybe he was going to leave the university because he knew that he was about to get the axe from the TA job. Maybe. Obviously there is still the other part too. You got to think he was moving the car because it's linked to a Mass M. Right? Let's not forget that piece too. But maybe all these things that were happening all at the same time. Yeah. Maybe he realized he wasn't going to be going back to Idaho or, to Washington State University. Maybe he was like, yo, this is the semester. I'm done. Obviously, because he had already allegedly done this thing that he did. Right? So, Rebel Girl Media, thank you so much for the 2. I'm late. Do we know if the professor was a woman? It was a man. It was Professor John Snyder. So it's a man. Okay. So yeah. So it's a man. It's a professor. And yeah, he was having issues with that particular professor. I don't know if it was like like they were having some sort of pissing contest between each other, who's more knowledgeable as a, what I'm saying? Like some weird competition between the professor and him. And it was a battle of wits and who's smarter and all that, which is still absolutely mind blowing to me. But still, the professor won at the end of the day. Okay. But I want to run that last part, that question that Ashley was asking Bryan Enton here, because I think that it was a very, very good thing. And yes, Aaron Murphy, exactly. Like there was a power struggle. Clearly, there was a full on power struggle that was going on here. So, and of course, it was a battle of wits. I'm sure, because he doesn't seem like the type that would just be like going after him to have a physical altercation. I think he was more about like, no, sir, no, professor, no. Last I checked, it was another one. You know what I mean? Like, you're wrong. Let me show you how I'm right. That's the kind of vibe I get. All right. And probably correcting him every single damn time he spoke. right? Even to the point where he's probably like, no, it's I don't know, it's Dahmer. You know what I mean? It's not Dahmer, sir. It's Dahmer. Something stupid like that while he's teaching the class, right? That could be absolutely annoying, right? But I'm going to play that last part here. So let's take a listen to this.
Yay. At the end.
And there were so many issues that he was actually fired as a TA. That's brand new.
So, Bryan, I'm just looking over this timeline again, and it's pretty astounding because he only started as a TA at the end of August. But the problem started right away on September 23rd. Look at this timeline. There are just mere sometimes days and short weeks in between each issue. But the very first thing started within a month, a fight with his professor, and then letters saying, you've got to be, up on your professional behavior. You're not meeting the expectations. We need an improvement plan. We got to meet about the improvement plan. And another fight, like 2 fights with the professor, all in the course of a couple of months, all the while hearing, like not in this timeline, but hearing these reports of being sexist and rude to women and being troublesome in the grading department. So what's curious is if Kohberger's program was tied to his teaching job. And not only that, he had an on-campus office and he had an on-campus apartment. And it's possible that those things were tied to his teaching job as well. So is it possible, Bryan, that his whole life was about to collapse because he was being, he was fired, but he knew that was coming, or at least he should have known it might have been coming. And he might have lost his program and his accommodations on campus.
Exactly. That maybe in that situation when he was losing everything, maybe that's why he called his dad. His dad already had planned out to come out, to fly out there, to get in the car, to do that cross-country trip. But he had already done the unaliving. He had already done this tragedy. He had already known that all this stuff like that, basically, he already burned his bridges in this job, right, with this TA. And within those accommodations of being a TA, it could have been the apartment. It could have been all the other things, all these other amenities that were bestowed upon him for being a TA, right? Maybe all those things are paid for. And that's how by being a TA, that's how he pays for the facility, for the room and board and all that, right? But maybe he already knew that it's a wrap. Like, I just did this thing and I can't stay in the same area that I did this unaliving allegedly at. Dad, come on out. We got to fly. And maybe his father was like, yeah, I'll fly back with him because he's upset. He just lost this gig. He lost this job, so on and so forth. I mean, that could be it. Maybe he knew that he was on his way out. Maybe. And then again, maybe not. But that could explain why the father flew out. Because everyone's like, why would he fly all the way out to drive cross country back with his son to Pennsylvania? Well, one, it's not like Bryan had his whole car packed to the gills with stuff. Let's not forget that too, right? He had only put his stuff in the car, like some stuff in his car to drive out there for the time that he was in Pennsylvania for that month or for those few weeks that he was there for the holidays, right? But that's about it, right? Like, it still doesn't throw off the narrative that we have so far, right? Because it's from my understanding, he was out there, right? His father went out with him, flew out, sat down with him, drove back. I don't know. To me, it sounds like Bryan didn't know about the termination until he was already en route. So that could be it too. I mean, I don't know. I'm still trying to remember the timeline, right, of everything. But Kim C, thank you so much for the 5. This new info may not contradict what we previously learned, but I'm shocked it wasn't leaked earlier if true. See, that's the thing too. Because if this information is 110% true, Kim C is exactly right. I'm shocked that this information didn't come out earlier. And why wouldn't this information come out earlier? Because it would explain, or at least attempt to explain, a few things revolving around the trip back home and all that. In fact, I think there's a timeline here. Actually, let me just Google this really quick. When did Bryan Kohberger okay. Now I just threw this in the Google because I wanted to get a quick trip down memory lane. But I said, when did he drive back? When did Bryan Kohberger drive back to Pennsylvania? So he drove back to Pennsylvania for the holidays, accompanied by his father, Papa Kohberger. All right. The father and son arrived around December 17th. So let me just say this. If he had received the email saying, "We don't want you here no more. We don't want you here, bro. You're not welcome, bro," on the 19th, he was already home when he received the bye-bye, the Dear John letter. Like, no thank you, but you can go. We don't need you no more. Okay? So that's interesting, right? Very, very interesting, because he received the email as he was arriving to Pennsylvania. So he didn't know about packing his stuff up and getting the heck out of Dodge for good. That's why all of his books, his computers, all that stuff were still in his apartment. If he had known, he would have packed up all of his stuff and left. So the theory that Ashley Banfield puts out here is not, it's a good theory, but it does not rest comfortably in this particular timeline. The timeline of him losing his job and the timeline of them driving back to Pennsylvania. So that's the only pushback I would say when it comes to her question about, well, he could have possibly lost his apartment, lost all the other amenities, access to the certain labs, his name on the door, blah, blah, blah. Especially when he's losing that TA job. He would not have known about that until he had arrived in Pennsylvania, or at least right before he's pulling into Pennsylvania, if you really think about it. So he didn't know anything when his father flew out to drive back. He knew he was having some issues with the guy, but he didn't know he was going to be fired. And Giovanna said, so he was fired before going to his parents. No, technically, he was already on his way, basically driving in the state of Pennsylvania when he received the email that he was terminated from the job. Let me show that to you again. The 19th is when he officially was terminated. Between December 9th and the 19th, which is 10 days, there is no account of them actually having another meeting, saying that like it's over, you're done, whatever it is. And maybe he did. Maybe the professor's like, "You're done here, son. You're no longer my TA. I'm done." And stormed off. Maybe that's what happened in the altercation. I don't know. So maybe he did know something, but then maybe he didn't, right? There is nothing in here that says that there was another meeting or another heads up to let him know that he was definitely going to be losing his gig as a TA. Now, let me just show this to you again. He arrived on the 17th. So he was already he was all the way up in his home on the 17th. The father and son arrived around December 17th. the White Elantra authorities have been looking for in connection to the unalivings was found at Kohberger's parents' house around that same time. So December 17th is when he pulled up to the crib, to his parents' crib, got all holly and jolly, getting ready for the holidays. Again, he got fired on the 17th or on the 19th of December. So he was already in Pennsylvania when all this went down. So it's not like he was in his car or there at home in Pullman, Washington, right? Getting this information and then he left. No, he was already basically waking up the following morning, waking up on the 19th in his old room, okay? Opening up his phone and reading an email telling him that he was no longer needed as a TA. So he received that bad news in Pennsylvania. So as far as him and the reason why the father went out there is still a huge question. That is still a question that we still do not know why the father came out, jumped in the ride with him, and drove back to Pennsylvania. It still doesn't math. Still doesn't add up to this timeline. So as much as we were hoping that maybe that would answer something, still it did not, unfortunately. All we know is that he was a jerk. Okay? He was an absolute tyrant to deal with, from what I'm understanding. A pompous, arrogant, chauvinistic piece of work that was working underneath a professor that did not like him at all. And rightfully so. So it's crazy. Okay? It's crazy. You know, and Sandwich, that's the thing too. I do think that maybe he knew that he was up to being fired. And obviously he needed a reason to get that. If he's the one who did it, he obviously needed a reason to get that car out the hell out of Dodge as quickly as possible, right? So there is a possibility of that too. You know, maybe it was he woke up that day surprised. You never know. He might have been clutching his pearls on the day of the 19th when he received that email. Oh my God. I just lost. Oh, damn. I really can't go back now. It may have been that. You never know. Rebel Girl Media, thank you so much for the two. Probably used the 2K mile trip to dump the weapon. Absolutely. Yes. That's my thought. Is that he utilized this opportunity because there is rumor out here in these in these streets, okay, in the rumor mill that he and his dad planned this road trip a while ago. So maybe he was just piecing everything together and going, this is the perfect time to do this. And then if everything is good and I lay low, you know, if this M is successful and I successfully don't get caught, I could still do this road trip with my pops. I could take the car. I could put it over here. I'll wipe it clean while I'm out there, right? I'll do everything I can to avoid any drama or any problems. Utilize this trip to maybe hide in plain sight, right? And that's a very good point. They gave him 6 warnings in one semester. That's a lot of warnings, y'all. Okay? I mean, this is disturbing. Okay? They gave him several warnings, and yet he still, like, I'll show it to you again. Several warnings, and he kept mucking it up over and over and over again. Altercation with the professor. His professional behavior was trash. He received another email saying that he was not meeting expectations. Then another one, he had a meeting to try to work it out with him, an improvement plan to work it out with him. Then a meeting to discuss the improvement plan progress, which obviously sounds like he wasn't making any improvements. Then another altercation with the professor, and then he finally gets terminated. That is a lot of warnings, okay? And especially when it comes to being misogynistic or being sexist towards the female students and all that, there should be zero tolerance on that. But they kept giving him as many opportunities as they could, and guess what? He kept failing every single time. 6 opportunities, guys. That's insane. That's insane. Okay, especially when it comes to how he was treating women, so on and so forth. That is not right. And I'm sure a lot of women were dropping that class because they did not like that treatment. Okay? It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But of course, as more things come out and more information starts to drop, for a fact we will talk about it here. We keep thinking that we're just going to sit and wait for the next for the actual trial to come through for us to talk about this. But obviously there's just a little bit of breadcrumbs that keep getting thrown out, but it gives us an understanding of a possible understanding, because we don't know how we don't know how credible these resources are, or these sources are. We don't. All we can do is take this with a grain of salt and just let it ride. But obviously, if there's more information, for a fact, I'll be talking about it here, okay, with the family, with all y'all, because this is crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. All right. So I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really does mean a lot, okay? But please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to do that, all right? That would really mean a lot. I'd love to see it get past 600 likes. That would really mean a lot to me. And of course, if you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button, okay? Your boy's working hard out here in these streets to give you the conversation, the controversies, and the discussions that you need for the day. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button. I might be on a little bit later on this evening. Just a fair warning, might be a late show, but there's some other stories I want to get to you guys before the day is over. All right. So I'll see you guys very, very soon. Hit that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And you guys have a great one. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys soon. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.